Welcome to JD's Prep. In this problem, we are told to graph the following system of inequalities on the set of axes below. The first inequality is 2y is greater than or equal to 3x minus 16, and the second inequality is y plus 2x is greater than negative 5. To graph these inequalities, we want to start by treating them like an equation to find the boundary of the region for that inequality. If we think of the equation 2y equals 3x minus 16, to graph that, I would divide by 2, giving me y equals 3 halves x minus 8. I can graph that by finding the y-intercept now that I'm in slope-intercept form, which would be negative 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 gives me this point down here as the y-intercept. And then the slope of 3 halves tells me to go up 3 and to the right 2 to get another point. Before I draw that in, I need to take a close look at the inequality itself. Here I have greater than or equal to as the inequality. That means that I am going to include any points that are on the line formed by the boundary because of that equal. In other words, it means that the equation 2y equals 3x minus 16 is part of the solution set for this inequality. So when I connect these points here, I'm going to draw in a solid line for this part of the graph. In addition, since our inequality is greater than or equal to, then I'm looking at y values that are above this line. So I'm looking up here above and to the left. On the other hand, for y plus 2x is greater than negative 5, I want to do a similar thing. Look at the equation y plus 2x is equal to negative 5. Solve for y to get into slope-intercept form and graph that equation. So if I subtract the 2x from both sides, I'll get the equation y equals negative 2x minus 5. Finding the y-intercept, I would have 0, negative 5, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for my y-intercept. And then the slope tells me to go down 2, and since it's a whole number, I go to the right 1 to find another point. And now I have to be a little bit careful, because if I look at the inequality, I do not have the equal as an option. So the line that I'm about to graph is not actually part of the solution set for that second inequality. We represent that by, instead of using a solid line, using a dotted line instead. In addition, I still have greater than as the inequality here, so that means I'm also going to be looking at parts that are above and to the right of this line. So that means the general region that we're going to be interested in are the points that are within the area shaded both blue and red. The second part of this question says, based upon your graph, explain why the point 6, 1 is a solution to this system and why the point negative 6, 7 is not a solution to the system. And if I look for these points on here, 6, 1, if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to the right and 1 up, I have the point 6, 1 located right here on the solid line. Whereas if I look for the point negative 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I'm up here on the dotted line. And if you remember what we were just saying about whether or not the line that we're graphing is part of the solution set or not, if we have a solid line, any point that is on that line is going to be included in the solution set. So in this case, the point 6,1 is on a solid line. And so that means it is a solution of the system. On the other hand, negative 6,7 is on the dotted line. And since the dotted line is not included in the solution, any point that is on that line is not going to be a solution of the system. So since the point negative 6,7 is on the dotted line, it is not a solution. So you want to be very careful when you're graphing systems of inequalities to pay close attention to the type of inequality that you're using. If it's less than or equal or greater than or equal, you're going to graph it with a solid line, which means that any point that is found on that line is included in the solution set. But if you have strictly greater than or strictly less than, you'll use a dotted line to represent that that line is not actually part of your solution set. And so any point that is along that line is not going to be a solution to the system of inequalities.